From news about Desa Wakanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, Fitch raises Ghana's ratings to B- with a positive and stable outlook, pushing it closer to investment grade. But what does this mean in real terms for the impact on Ghana's economy? We'll look at the economic indices and really speak to industry players to understand how things are playing out. The new Patriotic Party will, in the next 7 months, elect a flag bearer who will lead the party into the 2028 presidential elections. But why this early? That's the fundamental question. We'll have a conversation on this with a political analyst. Stay with us. Also, Democracy Hub takes on the government over its decision to deport foreigners arrested for engaging in illegal mining instead of prosecuting them. We have a copy of the writ of summons they filed, and we'll run through it. So it's you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana, please.
The new Patriotic Party, NPP, has officially scheduled its presidential primaries for Saturday, 31st January 2026. The decision was taken at a crucial meeting of the party's National Executive Committee held on Tuesday, 17 June 2025. Justin Frimpong-Kodia is the General Secretary of the party.
We call on our members that at least they must show respect to our party, they must show respect to personalities in our party, they must show respect to leadership in our party. We know that we are a democratic party, everyone has the right to express his or her views, but it must be done within the confinement of our constitution.
The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has disconnected power to the Ghana Water Company Limited over a $1 billion debt unpaid for over 7 months. ECG is undertaking a nationwide debt recovery exercise targeting both public and private institutions. The Ghana Water Company Limited has been given 48 hours to settle the debt or risk disconnection from key water pumping stations. ECG also disconnected the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, for defaulting on a structured payment agreement. Meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has welcomed the Fitch upgrading, describing it as a reflection of prudential fiscal and debt management and enhanced domestic revenue mobilization by his administration. Speaking at the Ghana-European Union Partnership Dialogue, President Mahama said the upgrade signals growing confidence in Ghana's economic recovery.
On macroeconomic recovery and fiscal governance, Ghana's economic outlook is rebounding steadily. Our administration remains committed to restoring macroeconomic stability through prudent fiscal management, enhanced domestic revenue mobilization, and expenditure rationalization. Working in partnership with the Bank of Ghana, we're stabilizing inflation, stabilizing the CD, and pursuing debt restructuring strategies to restore confidence and rebuild the fiscal space for development.
Members of Parliament have advocated the need for children to be trained on how to swim to avoid drowning. The MPs were contributing to a statement made on the floor of the House by the MP for Laura on the senior high school student who drowned over the weekend in Laura.
As a young boy, I tried to learn swimming at the age of 6 in the Volta Lake. But at that time, because of lack of such knowledge, our parents, our uncles would beat us to the core. I can tell you for a fact, anyone who knows how to swim will tell you that if you even put on a life jacket but cannot master the art of controlling yourself on the river, you will still die with the life jacket. Which means that it was better if we allow and train our children who live around river bodies to master the act of at least being still.
Mr. Speaker, when I sit on the boat from Kafaba, 3 hours I'm on the lake, going to Akamade, you don't sight a single speedboat situated on the lake to take care of people who are using the lake in any eventuality. Zero. Mr. Speaker, these are the bigger issues that government has to address its mind to.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration is appealing for logistical support to assist in the emergency evacuation of Ghanaian nationals from Iran following heightened tension with Israel. The ongoing hostilities between two countries have intensified in recent days, prompting the ministry to initiate urgent measures to safeguard Ghanaian citizens in affected areas.
We also appeal for your support in terms of logistics as we currently continue with our evacuation of Ghanaians in Iran and Israel following the unfortunate conflict that has erupted over the last few days.
Well, there's more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, the new Patriotic Party will, in the next 7 months, all things being equal, elect its flag bearer, who will lead the party into the 2028 presidential election. This is a key development and a key departure from the party's, as it were, the constitutional provisions as we're used to. We'll get into that shortly, but this was one of a number of outcomes from a press conference, in fact, that was addressed by the General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodia Frimpong, earlier today. But then again, we were there in the day when also observing how things were playing out at that crucial National Executive Committee meeting of the new Patriotic Party, as we observed the media reports on this particular meeting as well. So that's information that we do have. We're going to show you videos of some of the individuals and top-tier executives of the party who arrived at the meeting earlier, and then also how the meeting indeed played out as was reported in the media. But let's hear from Justin Kodia Frimpong, who's the General Secretary of the party, giving details about the decision that the National Executive Committee of the party has taken today, 7th June 2025, about when the party will organize its flag bearer elections. That is the election to elect who will lead the party into the 2028 presidential elections as its flag bearer. Take a look.
The National Council also took a serious note on issue of some indiscipline in the party. And again, the party takes very seriously issue of discipline, and is something that we are not prepared to renege on our determination to instill discipline in the party. Certain individuals were cautioned today about some utterances that they have been making in the social media, on radio and TV stations. And the chairman for the occasion stood in to plead on behalf of those individuals and requested National Council to give them at least the last chance. In the wisdom of National Council, they accepted the plea from the chairman for the occasion, Chairman Smith Dankwabuti, and rather cautioned them we call on our members that at least they must show respect to our party, they must show respect to personalities in our party, they must show respect to leadership in our party. We know that we are a democratic party, everyone has the right to express his or her views, but it must be done within the confinement of our constitution. And they must also avert their mind to Article 3, which talks about duties of members of our party. So these are the critical issues that took place at NEC and National Council, respectively. Thank you very much.
Well, that's Justin Kodia Frimpong, the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, at this meeting, a very crucial one indeed, to determine the roadmap going into how the party is strategizing ahead of election 2028. You hear him talk about some persons who were cautioned about some statement they've been making in the media about the party, and then also the crucial issue about when the party will conduct its flag bearer elections. Now, this date that has been communicated today, the 31st of January 2026, that's the date that the General Secretary will understand one of the outcomes of this National Executive Committee meeting today. January 31st, 2026. That's when the party would elect its flag bearer, all things being equal, because this must be subject to a constitutional review or amendment for that matter. I put this on the screen because Article 13 of the NPP's constitution specifically details election of the presidential candidate. They give timelines to this particular exercise. And as it reads, and I quote, "The election of the party's presidential candidate shall be held not later than 24 months from the date of the national elections. The date and venue for the election shall be decided by the National Council, provided, however, that the National Council may, on appropriate occasion, vary the date." And that's what we saw last year when the date was varied per this particular constitutional provision. It goes on. When the party is in government, the election of a presidential candidate shall be held not later than 11 months before the national general election. And that's why you saw that election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in 2023, ahead of the 2024 general elections, in fulfillment of this particular constitutional provision, and then also the timelines that were put in there. But then again, we see, based on this, the details as given today, that this is a clear departure from the party's constitutional provision. The details as captured in here, that less than 24 months, that's not less than 24 months, that will be 2 clear years, that is if the party is in opposition, 2 clear years before the general election. Now, if they go by this timeline as communicated today, that will be 3 clear years before election 2028, as has been captured in this constitutional provision. So this time around, there's going to be 36 months or less. It's just about 36 months into election 2028. The party intends to elect its flag bearer. They're also already looking into the crystal ball and doing the analysis of how this would benefit the MPP or otherwise. If it's going to give them enough time to address all the issues that would come out of the election of the flag bearer, who the flag bearer is going to be, and then all the issues that will come out of it, those who are going to lose. The party will then have 3 years to address all the fallouts from the election. Others are also looking at how this could or may impact the party negatively. But that's the analysis we're going to do right now. But then again, it is a decision that the hierarchy of the party is mulling, and as it were, also look at what the way forward will be for the party. And having in mind that John Dramani Mahama, the president of the Republic of Ghana, has 1 term, and so the party, from the people we've spoken to, the sources within the MPP say they're already lacing their boots. They are not waiting for 2027 to elect their flag bearer. No, they know that the president has 1 term, the NDC, but their constitution will also have to elect a new flag bearer as things play out. And so they would want to go ahead of the curve and do this and deal with their issues quicker, faster, earlier, so that the time the NDC would elect their flag bearer, they would have their issues to deal with as well. But then for them as NPP, they would have done that earlier and had enough time to deal with the fallout of their flag bearer race and who becomes the flag bearer of the party. We know some persons who are already testing the waters. Dr. Brian Champon, for instance, has set up a committee to go around the country, engage with the MPP members to understand exactly what their thinking is, what's going through their minds, what are their expectations after the defeat in 2024. You've seen Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia on his thank you tour, engaging with the party. Kennedy Japan as well is going around engaging with the party executives. So these 3 persons, at least, we know. We do know as well that the likes of the former education minister, Dr. Yao Osei Duchum, he has not given up on his presidential or flag bearer ambitions. And then there are some persons as well who are testing the waters for him. So as the months go by, and bear in mind, this date that has been communicated is just a little over 6 months away from today. So we will see the names that will pop up and the people who hit the ground running, because you have just 6 months, if this date is anything to go by, to campaign, go around and sell their message to the party. There was also that proposal of whether or not the current structure of electing the flag bearer should stay, whether there should be the delegate system or the tentacles or the scope of who elects the flag bearer should be expanded, so that it would not just be about some delegates who some have argued could be bribed or could be influenced monetarily to vote a particular way. But then if you expand the numbers as to the party members who take part in an election to elect the flag bearer, then it will be difficult to influence them with money if they are running into thousands and hundreds of thousands of the MPP members. We will see. But then, I want to take a listen to Justin Kodia Frimpong again, addressing the press after that meeting earlier today. Take a look.
Got into, and the key areas that the National Council had to take a decision on. With respect to the call for expansion of our electoral college, indeed, the committee spoke about it. And again, that decision as to the number of expansion or the expansion level will be determined at the delegate conference scheduled to take place in July. The committee also spoke about the time for our presidential primaries. And again, the committee agreed that that decision does not warrant amendment of our constitution. But in light of the spirit and letter of Article 13 of the MPP Constitution, that power is clothed with National Council to make that decision. And National Council today also made the decision that the date for our presidential primaries is set for January 31st, 2026. That will be the date that we shall hold our presidential primaries. Because there's going to be a proposal or a motion for amendment for our constitution, a committee, or what we refer to as a planning committee, has been put in place by National Council to prepare and also implement directive that has been given to them for us to have a successful delegate conference to amend our constitution, the provision that has to be amended. A chairman for the committee is Honorable Joseph Osei Owusu.
So that I understand also a 9-member committee has been set up as well for the National Delegates Conference as well. And so that's another issue that came up earlier today. But let's engage a bit further on this development by the General Secretary of the NPP, putting out the details of this crucial meeting that determined the roadmap for the party going forward. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, political analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, is joining us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time as always. I mean, what's your own reading, hearing the General Secretary of the NPP talk right now? What's your own reading of this roadmap as has been announced, and a clear departure from what Article 13 talks about? And yes, he talks about the National Council of the party being clothed with the powers to do so, and then, as it were, vary the details and the details of that particular constitutional provision. So if the timeline of January 31st is anything to go by, in the next 6 months, a little over 6 months, they're going to the polls to elect the flag bearer, just a year after losing the elections in December 2024. What's your own reading of this?
Well, when I heard that news, let me say good evening to our viewers and to your good self. When I heard that news, I got a bit worried because I did not really know what might have informed that particular decision on the part of the party. Of course, they wouldn't take that particular decision in vacuum. And the point is that they will want to cure a certain mischief. Now, this idea of curing a certain mischief is what brought the idea of having a presidential primaries when you have more than 5, special presidential primaries, so to speak, when you have more than 5 presidential candidate contesting. And that has led to certain breakaways, from the party. And so whenever they will want to cure a certain mischief, they rather create more problems for themselves. I was really taken aback when I got the idea or the impression from the party that they are taking it from the top to the bottom instead of the bottom to the top. That is increasingly worrying. And I don't know what might have informed that. Of course, we are aware of the internal bickerings and then the acrimonies that seem to be engulfing the party for some time now. And obviously, they may want to create a sense of unity within the party. And that's the more reason why they might have taken that particular decision. But as to whether that particular, motive and purpose will be achieved, I think that only time will tell. But if we are to do proper analysis on that particular decision, I think that it will come to me or come to some of us as a wrong decision from the party.
I say, but already there are those, as to whether it's going to be wrong or otherwise, time will tell, is it not? But there are those who have started testing the waters and putting out pointers of their intentions to lead the flag bearer, to lead the party as flag bearer going into the election 2028. I mentioned earlier Dr. Brian Champong, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, clearly going around doing the thank you tour, giving hope to the people, and then also Kennedy Japong, and then Dr. Yase Aduchim as well. But with this particular decision, based on your own lenses and analysis, who is it going to favor?
Mr. Ocansey, I don't see that happening. In actual fact, that decision is rather to hand over the party into the control of a certain group of persons. And if you asked me, it is definitely going to inure to the benefit of Dr. Bawumia. because he's an establishment candidate, or the candidate for the establishment. Unfortunately, I don't think they have really thought through this, because if you have a situation where you are likely to re-elect the same person, my question has been, and it's something I've been pondering over, what revolutionary change would Dr. Bawumia bring as the candidate that will be elected? Because this is a situation where, if you look at the abysmal performance of Dr. Bawumia and that of our former president, Mr. Nana Akufo-Addo, obviously, it doesn't appear good. For the optics, it does not appear good, because his popularity will soar only when the NDC does not perform. But that can be different when you have a different candidate, so to speak. And so if the NDC does not in any way create problems for itself in terms of its transition, but rather ensures that the economy performs as they are performing now, they may not be a perfect, government. But if you look at what they are doing, then obviously, Dr. Bawumia being a relic of the former president, it will be very difficult to market. But if you took somebody else, that in itself will create a kind of sense of a sense of refreshing atmosphere for the party. Because somebody like, Dr. Educhum, I see him as an unsung hero within the party. Because if you ask me, he appears very unblemished. You may have your own reservations about Mr. Kennedy Japan, but he had a better and a superior message, as I've always said, than Dr. Bawumia before the presidential primaries. Now you have Dr. Former Greek Minister Bernard Champon coming into the fray. So it is worrying, for example, that you find out that, look, this is someone who, in his avowed disposition, supported Dr. Bawumia. What has changed that he will want to turn over? I said this on your platform some days back. And so that decision in itself, taken from the top to the bottom, will create more disunity and rather hand over the party into the hands of an individual, and everybody else will have to toe that particular line. Now, there is something else that I've thought about. There are certain individuals within the party that the party machinery will want to get rid of. Now, if you elect that particular person, what that means is that all these unpopular individuals will want to align themselves with that particular presidential candidate. And then it's as if they are more supportive of that person. And therefore, if you want that person to achieve his goal and dream, then you must vote for us, so that we'll be able to be there and support him. And I think that they should have had the opportunity to do a philosophical analysis of the implications, of that particular decision.
But if you say that Dr. Bawumia is an establishment candidate, and the reason why you conclude that this decision from where you sit is going to benefit him, what exactly do you mean? I mean, an establishment candidate of which establishment exactly? Is it the Nana Akufo-Addo establishment, or Dr. Bawumia himself has created an establishment within the party? Because I spoke to Dr. Arthur Kennedy a few weeks ago. He says that he has information that the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, is not supporting the bid of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to be flag bearer going into the 2028 elections. So how about that?
I've equally heard that particular information from the grapevine, and it appears, I'm told, that the former president is supporting Dr. Bernard Champon. As to whether that is the case or not, only time will tell. But you see, you cannot in any way think that the former president is an embodiment of the establishment. You have the MPs, you have former executives who may not tie their apron strings to the former president for now. And so there is still the establishment. And that establishment will be the elite of the party who will want to support Atabawumia to win. But I have said that ordinarily, those who take decisions on behalf of the larger party, do they really consider the sentiment of those that they are leading? Because when you go into an election and you lose so miserably, it tells you that the sentiment of those in the grassroots were not listened to. They did not hearken to the voice of those in the grassroots. And that is the more reason why you had such an abysmal performance. And so to take a decision that you are going to take the lessons from the top to the bottom, I think that there is a disaster coming up within the NPP. And if you're not careful, they are going to have other breakaways. Because if you are going to use that methodology, it means that you are supposed to stick to the old register. Now, sticking to the old register, when in actual fact, some of these people could have, lost elections along the line, it means that they are likely to give the mandate to the established candidate. And if that happens, have you considered the dynamics on the ground? When in actual fact, you need to look at the new trends and then change or modify accordingly. If you're not able to do any of these things, then you are likely to lose the next elections. Then it means that that decision is only to inure to the benefit of a certain individual or a certain group of persons within the party. If that happens, the grassroots will show you that they have the power and not you.
I see, but in analyzing this decision as well, the pros and cons of it, as you have looked at, there are also those who say this is going to benefit the party somewhat, because then if they are electing the flag bearer January 31, as has been communicated today, it would give them ample time to deal with all of these issues, the fallouts that you talk about, that if a particular candidate or another person is elected, there will definitely, as we've seen over the period, there will be disgruntled persons who certainly not happy, others will be disappointed and would have all the issues. So 3 clear years to the December 2028 election will be enough time for the party to deal with all of these issues. How about that as well?
Yes, it is. That is quite obvious. But he was not able to solve the problems in the Ashanti region when he went to spend over 20 days there before the 2024 elections. So that is a possibility. You cannot discount that. But equally so, if he's still an unpopular candidate, then I don't see how he will be loved when he's re-elected. That is something that they may have to ponder over. I am of the view that Dr. Bawumia is a dilemma for the party. Should we stick to him, then there is the need for us to do everything to project him to the acceptability or acceptable level of Ghanaians. But if that is not the case, then obviously that particular 38% that support Canada Japan will still want to be on the fence and look on as the party goes in the 2028 elections and lose miserably.
Well, and certainly this is one that is just coming today, and so the coming days would present us a lot more with some time to engage and do some more analysis on this one as well. And what, in your view, would be a response mechanism of the NDC to this particular one from the NPP? But thank you so much. Dr. Jonathan Asantiochi is a senior lecturer, University of Cape Coast, political analyst. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, we're going straight into matters of the economy, and that's crucial, is it not? Because the economy was at the center of the decision-making of Ghanaians in the election December 2024. Fitch has raised Ghana's ratings to B-, pushing it closer to investment grade. But really, what does this mean in real terms for Ghana's economy? That's the fundamental question that we're looking at right now. And for the many of you, this news came. But then again, what should that be in terms of going forward, how that is going to impact impact on the economy. For many people, we started paying attention to the details of ratings by rating agencies when Ghana, our economy, was downgraded to a junk status, and all the repercussions of that particular grading by these number of these rating agencies and the implications that it had on our economy and the trickle-down effect that it had on all of us, because that ratings influences a number of things: the investment climate of the country, and whether even financial institutions would have the capacity to borrow externally as well, and then as a country, how we're going to be attractive to investment or the foreign direct investment as well, and then how that also impacts on our own ability to borrow externally at favorable rates. All of these ratings impact on us. If it's unfavorable, the trickle-down effect will be felt by all of us. So yes, this B- rating with a stable outlook, according to Fitch, they took into consideration a number of things, and these were the drivers for this rating by Fitch. They said they looked at the successful debt restructuring that had been going on over time. Now we've seen the coupon payments being fulfilled as well, and here are some of the analysis and indicators, and they're largely external debt restructuring, including that $13.1 billion Eurobond restructuring and near completion of the official bilateral debt agreement as well, and then that led to the normalization of the relations with creditors, as we saw, and then also the improved macroeconomic stability outlook, inflation significantly reducing to the 18.4 in May 2025 from the peak of over 50% as we saw in 2022 getting into 2023, and then also the currency stability, and that was one of the major determinants or denominators for this improved Fitch rating or the upgrade, as we have seen. The Ghanaian cedi appreciating since March ending into April, easing import costs, stabilizing investor expectations as well. We've seen the cedi come under some pressure, but then the Bank of Ghana says it has enough buffer to be able to sustain the gains that we have seen with the cedi, and it's also strategizing to pump in a lot more dollars into the system and make the dollar available for commercial banks as well. And then we've seen the foreign reserve increase to over $6.8 billion and over. Then we've seen as well the fiscal consolidation, the resilience of the growth of the economy, as we've seen in this budget, projections of 4% growth in 2025. That is a relatively mild expectation. There are those who are talking about that growth increasing just a little further. The finance minister is very clear in his mind the strategy that he's going into this fiscal year with. In the next few weeks ahead of us, we'll have a mid-year budget review that will also take into consideration a number of the things that we have seen here as well and how things are playing out. This is it. In 2022, we're back to the ratings in 2022 because in January 2022, Fitch graded Ghana's economy B-. Then we saw it go down straight to the default rate because we defaulted on the repayment of our debts. And then there was an improvement to CCC, and then sometime in 2024, when we saw that engagement with external creditors as well, and then the IMF program came in just within that period that we were upgraded to CCC. The IMF program then also influenced the growth and we saw in the economy to CCC plus. But then this one is the highest in terms of analysis over the last 3 years. The fundamental question is, how then do we sustain this particular upgrade of Fitch ratings in the face of the threats of the economy? The fundamentals of the economy hasn't changed. The structure of the economy hasn't changed. We still have threats that the cedi is faced with, the external issues as we are seeing right now. What should be the thinking going forward? That's the conversation we're going to have right now as we also keep in mind what has happened today. Joe Jackson is a financial analyst. He's going to be joining us right after this quick break. We'll have a conversation on this one. Stay with us here. This is Ghana Tonight. Welcome back. This is this Ghana Tonight. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. President John Dramani Mahama had this to say about this Fitch upgrade, describing it as a reflection of prudent fiscal and debt management and enhanced domestic revenue mobilization by his administration. He was speaking at the Ghana-European Union Partnership Dialogue earlier today. Take a look.
On macroeconomic recovery and fiscal governance, Ghana's economic outlook is rebounding steadily. Our administration remains committed to restoring macroeconomic stability through prudent fiscal management, enhanced domestic revenue mobilization, and expenditure rationalization. Working in partnership with the Bank of Ghana, we're stabilizing inflation, stabilizing the cedi, and pursuing debt restructuring strategies to restore confidence and rebuild the fiscal space for development. These efforts are yielding fruits, and only yesterday, the Fitch Rating Agency upgraded Ghana's credit outlook to B-, stable outlook. We're also pursuing regulatory and institutional reforms that promote transparency, reduce inefficiencies, and expands our fiscal base.
Well, that's the president there. Joe Jackson is a financial analyst and the CEO of Delex Finance. Mr. Jackson, appreciate your time. And you understand this language much more than a lot of people and all of us who are watching and right now. For the many people, started paying attention to this ratings when we got to that junk status. But this B- with a stable outlook, what does all of this mean? And how is it going to impact on the economy?
First of all, this is extremely good news. Fantastic news. Great news. And wherever you are as a Ghanaian, whether you are getting a direct impact or not, I say to you that this should bring a smile to your face. And explain why. You see, what a lot of us didn't realize was that for a Ghanaian financial institution or in any case, any company like Delex Finance, our ability to raise money outside the shores of this country was zilch. No company can have a higher rating than its sovereign country rating. So when our public debt default results in a junk status for Ghana's public debt, it also invariably means that every single company in Ghana has junk status. So now we can raise money. We can go out and raise money. When there is a transaction to be held, Ghana can go out, raise up its head, and raise money. That's absolutely good news. For the financial sector, and as Delex Finance, I'm excited, and I'm sure all my other colleagues are excited. All other companies that need to raise money outside, we are excited. And we are excited because of the second reason, that it will bring investor confidence. Whether these investors are bringing in cash directly or not, Ghana is not publicly recognized that Ghana is not as toxic as it used to be. It even raises the specter of us being able to go back to the international markets to borrow. Now, I know that as soon as I say that, everybody will sit up and wonder, borrow? After all that has happened to you, there are some hard facts to be faced. Ghana does not balance its budget except by borrowing. That hasn't happened in a long time. And even in these austere times, it will not happen. And every time all the borrowing is local, it means that even in these times where the borrowing has been severely reduced, still, there's some amount of crowding out local companies. Not as bad as it was a few years back, not as severe as it was last year, but there's still some crowding out. Being able to borrow on international markets gives us another option let's be clear. Borrowing is not evil. Borrowing is not a crime. So long as you put the money borrowed into directly productive areas, which can help pay for the cost of borrowing. So that borrowing is a tool to accelerate our development. Borrowing is an option in economic management and policy. But, and that is the big but, that money should be used in a productive way, not as patronage, political loyalty, definitely not as part of the corrupt practices we have, but in a productive way. So we have tools. Finally, and I mentioned 3 items already, finally, it is public affirmation that the policies that we've been following for the past few months are in the right direction, that we are trending in the right direction, that things are being done properly, that there is discipline in our financial, our fiscal management and in our finances. That's good. So number one, it's good news, terrible good news. Private companies can borrow easier than they did before. Number two, it will bring investor confidence. It will even give us access to foreign markets again. And there that is a good option, even though we must approach it very, very cautiously. Finally, it is affirmation that we are doing the right thing. That's all good news. But I want to sound a word of caution. But it's only a rating. It does not mean that things have changed. We are still broke. We still have to take the hard decisions. The energy sector debt is still looming. We still have to exercise the fiscal prudence that we've done over the last few months. This should be seen as motivation to continue on the path of discipline that we have been on the last few months. Not an invitation to retreat. So, hey, all in all, good news. Listen, excellent news, Nene.
I say, excellent, you put it in. But then again, you end on that note of caution that in the midst of all of this excellent news and achieving this upgrade, and based on all the indicators that Fitch itself outlined with the fiscal stability, the currency as well, and the policies that have been put in place so far since January to date, the threats that you outline, the energy debt, the threats that still that the city is faced with, the external influences we've seen, the fundamentals of our economy hasn't changed, the structure of the economy hasn't also changed. So what should be the thinking going forward to address the threats, sustain and even improve this rating as well?
For the short term, we're doing the right thing. We're being prudent with our finances. The city has appreciated in response to external and local factors. But there's also the medium term. This is an opportunity to look carefully at the structure of our economy. See, how can we turn things around? How can we as Ghanaians own more of our resources that we produce? Can we retain even more beyond the gold board? Can we retain more of our resources in this country? This is an opportunity for us to take a deep look at agric and start thinking of how we can effectively move agric from rain-fed to irrigation-led. How can we start to feed our people? How can we drive non-traditional exports? So it's good news. It's excellent news. In the short term, we say, well done, hooray, to the managers of the economy. But there's still some real hard work to be done in the medium term so that this opportunity does not pass away.
And that's a reality check you put in there. Thank you so much. Joe Jackson is a financial analyst, is CEO of Dalex Finance. Thank you, Joe Jackson, there. But coming up next, and quickly before we go, Democracy Hub is taking on government over its decision to deport foreigners arrested for engaging in illegal mining instead of prosecuting them. Now, you recall the Interior Minister made this particular announcement, which did not go down too well with the civil society organizations that are championing this fight against illegal mining. One of them is Democracy Hub. They filed a lawsuit against the government over its controversial policy of deporting foreign nationals arrested for illegal mining, that's Galamsey, without first prosecuting them in Ghana. Now, the legal action names the Minister for the Interior, I'm going to put that on the screen, the Ghana Immigration Service, and the Attorney General as defendants. And here are the reliefs that and orders being sought by Democracy Hub. One, a declaration that the deportation of foreign nationals arrested for engaging in illegal mining without prosecuting, or the prosecution constitutes a violation of Section 99 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, which mandates prosecution for such offenses. They're also seeking a declaration that the state policy and actions of the Minister for the Interior and the Ghana Immigration Service to deport foreign nationals without trial for Galamsey offenses are unlawful, ultra-vires, and inconsistent with Article 19.2 of the Constitution of Ghana. Also, a declaration that the selective decision not to prosecute foreign nationals while prosecuting Ghanaians for the same offenses constitutes unequal treatment before the law and violates Article 17 of the Constitution. A declaration that the government of Ghana has no legal authority to substitute criminal prosecution with deportation for offenses under Act 703, and such deportations amount to unlawful interference with the administration of justice. A declaration that the policy of deporting foreign nationals accused of illegal mining in lieu of prosecution under Ghanaian law is not justified by any evidence of foreign prosecution and is therefore arbitrary, unlawful, and contrary to the rule of law. So these are reliefs that the Democracy Hub, Oliver Bakavomo, private legal practitioner, and others are seeking in this particular suit against that decision as announced by the Interior Minister to deport foreign nationals who are caught engaging in Galamsey. Well, we'll see how the coming days will look like on that. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage.